Hello, 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 everyone. Mary the Wanderer back with another edition of Beyond Dressing Well Live. We have another wonderful program planned tonight for you. My very good friend Dana Katz is in the background waiting to pop on. He is going to share his remarkable journey as a merchant in our beautiful city of Boston. He's got an amazing family business story, and we're also going to talk men's fashion. I first met Dana in the early 90s when business casual was first coming on the scene. So he and I think, kind of figured it out together. I know I certainly didn't know what it was when it first arrived, but he has been in our world for a very long time, helping us deliver the kind of customer service that we like to deliver. We are very similar in that way, and we're going to get into his story, some of the traits that make him a rock star in our world, and also do some looking back and looking forward about men's fashion. So glad that you tuned in, and I'm thrilled that Dana is going to join us. But before I bring Dana on, just a couple of updates. Since I saw you last, a lot has gone on in the world, starting with the passing of the Queen. Sarah did a beautiful job posting some pictures in the group, and Eileen Murphy, one of our dear friends, also posted some beautiful tributes, especially to her fashion in the group. So if you haven't seen that, please do check those out. And I know my biggest takeaway reading so much about the Queen this weekend, and of course, I was very focused on her style. Well, she said you have to be noticed to be recognized. And she said that was why she wore so many beautiful colors. So I don't know if I realized how petite she is, but I certainly loved just being entrenched in the royal world. What a fascinating world that they have. So just wanted to pay tribute to the lovely Queen and all she has come to be recognized for all of us. And then, of course, we had the Emmys on, was it Monday night? I think it was Monday night. Maybe it was Tuesday night. I think it was Monday night. So put in the chat what your favorite Emmy dresses were. I think I am such a big Reese Witherspoon fan, and I loved what they did with her hair. I read that the product that her stylist used on her hair is like flying off the shelves everywhere, and I think you can get it on Amazon. I think I read that somewhere, but she was, I think, my favorite of all the dresses, but there was so many good ones. So please put in the chat what your favorite looks are. Please say hello when you join so that we know that you're here. And we also have two $100 gift certificates from Dana to Miltons, and two folks will win those tonight. So all you have to do is put hashtag Miltons to qualify, and Sarah and I will be going through the chat, looking at things and seeing who's going to win those two very generous gift certificates. Also, why don't you share a couple of stories about Miltons if you're from the Boston area, or even if you've moved and you have a great memory from Miltons. They are third generation, so put those in the chat too. And then the other two more things that I wanted to share before we bring Dana out is we are enrolling in 90 Days to Stellar Style, our last session of 2022. That program continues to exceed our expectations in every way. It is taught by the amazing Sarah Zengo. Sarah, you do such a phenomenal job with that program, and it's supported with stylist Jen Coletti and Kathy Smith. So put Stellar Style in the chat if you'd like Sarah or I to reach out to you to share details. It kicks off on Monday, October 10th, and it is a program that just never disappoints. So get on our calendar. We're happy to share details. And then the last thing, I was in Amelia Island last week with my husband. I was happy to tag along on a work trip for him. So put in the chat if you've ever been to that amazing place. Wow, I had never been. And we stayed at the Ritz. It was very elegant. I loved every minute. And I had so much fun checking out all the attire. There was so many young people there. I heard that it's a favorite of Cher and Oprah and John Travolta and the Rolling Stones. And there was 3 boutiques at the place. So I did a little shopping, and I'm happy to report that our number one pick for fall 2022, Barbie Core Pink, which we celebrated last week, was on everybody. So that was a lot of fun for me to see the styles. It was great to have one more weekend of summer, but I came back refreshed and ready to kick it into high gear now that fall has arrived. So those are my updates. And now, without further ado, I'd love to bring Dana Katz on. Hello, Dana. Welcome.
How are you, Mary Lou? Good to see you.
I'm very good, thank you. And I think you're coming to us from your office, if I have to guess.
Yes. I'm here in Braintree.
Okay. Well, Dana, just, I was looking back. I think I've known you for 30 years.
It's been a while. Hard to believe.
It sure has. We're both still standing, Dana. And I was preparing for having you on tonight. You provided so many great things, great information about your family and your business acumen and your team. And I realized one of the reasons why we have successfully worked together for so long is we really share the same values. Family is so important to me, and I know it's so important to you. You have hired and surrounded yourself with just amazing people, which I feel very blessed to have on in my world as well. You've also had an advisory board, and I pride myself on my advisory board. And you've also had to pivot quite a bit, as we have as well. So when I have you share your story, I'd love for you to kind of add some flavor with those categories, because I know our community shares those values as well. But what I thought I would do, Dana, before I hand over the floor to you, your story is just, I love business as much as I love fashion. So anytime I get to chat business and especially family business, I'm happy to. But I thought I would just share 3 quick stories about my experience with you, your staff, your team, and really your brand and what they have meant to me. And it did take me some while, I really reflect when we invite a guest on. And the 3 things that came to me really quite quickly is your store. And you know that I love all your stores, but I am very connected to your Chestnut Hills store, meeting Jose and Tim and Roberta and Cindy so many years ago. And they continue to just come through for us in so many ways. But I have 2 boys. I live in a sports house, and your store has provided me an opportunity to show my boys what I do. It has allowed them to see me interact in my world. It has allowed me to coach them on presence. And one of the last thing I'm going to ask you tonight is what presence means to you. But when I looked back and I pulled a couple things that I have bought over the years for my boys, I said, so this is what they wore to my book signing.
Very nice.
And that was, honest to goodness, they were 4 years old, Dana. So that I am someone that gets rid of things, but I do not get rid of the things that mean.
Never the kid.
I live in Needham, Massachusetts. My boys were invited to 32 bar mitzvahs. I had to go count. So this was a blazer that I bought with Tim for my son, John. It is velvet. It's gray. He wore it with a purple shirt, and he just felt like $1 million. And then when last year, I went to a wedding with them, and over to Milton's I went, and my son said, Mom, I don't want the navy blue blazer. I want something really different. And Kim said, we don't have anything like that. I said, and I said, I'm going to go up to the boys department. And I found this, it was like a size 16 Portly, and John fit in it. So I just wanted to share that over the years and the kindness of your staff, Dana, and for my boys to see that. And Tim and I are really close, but when my boys go in, he's all about my boys, and he talks to them differently. So that was the first thing I wanted to share.
That's
the second thing that I wanted to share is, and Sarah Zengo, I already saw writing in the comments all about some of her experiences with your firm. And please chime in. We want Dana to be able to go in and read the chat after this program. He's been around for a long time, and he is such a hard worker. But the amazing amount of clients we have brought in there, Dana. And, in our world, yes, 10%, very high-end fashion, really fashion forward, but there's so many people in our world that are very intimidated of fashion, as you know. Have me come in, brought in by the company to work with somebody, it can be very intimidating. And when we got comfortable in your stores, and I love your tagline because it speaks to you'll be as comfortable in our stores as you are in our clothes, that really has resonated with everybody on our team over the years. And I just have, one story of working with a young guy many years ago. And they really just hired me to coach him. It wasn't supposed to be this big shopping day. And it was really on executive presence in every way. And he was very slight. And his manager said to me, he's the smartest guy in the room, but he's not comfortable speaking up. And we feel that if he gets more comfortable in his skin, he will be able to shine in a new way. And I just pivoted. I think he lived way out in the western part of the state. And I said, I've got a store in Boston, super comfortable. He was very afraid about price point. I want to get into price point a little bit during our conversation because you have an array of products there. But I remember bringing him in, and I've used that story in a lot of my speaking. And Dana, and you know this, when the clothes fit him, he stood differently. He smiled differently. And, I will never say that professional image and clothing is it's a tool. And I always just love when I see that. And that's one of the reasons that I know, reading your bio, you spend a lot of time on the floor. I'm always with clients too, because the joy of that is profound. So my final and last story, and then I'm really going to let Dana just take it away, is this summer, how Dana ended up on this show tonight was I was out in the middle of the ocean in July with my husband. And my son, Timothy, they know my whole stories here, Dana. I share all my kids' stories.
Good.
My son, Timmy, just moved to DC. And he called and said, Mom, my glasses broke. And the poor kid can't see anything. And it was a long story where he went to Europe, the glasses broke, but he could still wear them. He had a doctor's appointment. It got canceled. Finally, he went down to South Shore Plaza where Miltons is because it was the only doctor available before he had to move to DC. So he called me and he said, they can't ship them overnight. And I said, Tim, what do you mean they can't ship them overnight? And he said, Mom, the glasses really broke. I can't even go to work on Monday because I can't see. And I started thinking, and he said, Mom, can you just go down and get them? And it's 3:00 in the afternoon. And I call and I'm like, maybe he missed saying, you can't, whatever. They couldn't ship them. So I called Tim in Chestnut Hill and I said, Tim, do you know anyone working in South Shore that can run over to the store, get the glasses and ship them? 5 minutes later, no joke, Dana is on my text saying, I'd be happy to do that for you. So Dana, thank you. You have been a friend.
No worries.
Firm, my family, and it is just a pleasure to have you here tonight. So it's two parts. Dana's going to share his story tonight, and then I'm going to go. He just opened a new store in Burlington, so I'm going to go visit him in Burlington, probably in October. But I didn't want to miss the story. So Dana, congratulations on 75 years in business. Please just take the floor and tell us your story.
Well, we did turn 75 this spring. We're very excited about the Burlington store. We opened a 12,000-foot store there in the Burlington Mall. And now it just gives us the opportunity to not only serve folks in greater Boston, but really all throughout New England. But our story began with my grandfather, who was a peddler. And the peddler was a door-to-door salesman, and he peddled white goods, sheets, towels, linens, all throughout the South Shore. And after doing that for about 20 years, he decided he wanted to get off the road. He asked my father, who was graduating Northeastern, what he wanted to do. And my father said, let's open a men's store. My father always loved dressing and men's clothing. And the GIs were coming back from World War II. They needed suits because that was the uniform for work at that time. And they needed to get on with their lives. So that's how we began. We then saw growth coming from customers coming from the Newton Brookline area. So we looked for a store out there and found our Chestnut Hill location, which is where we are today, and have been there since 1968. But at the end of the day, we really owe the whole thing to having great customers. And like you mentioned earlier, a great team of associates that have always been with us, past and present. And it's really, in thinking about this, it's really the people that make the difference. Quite frankly, with the internet, you can buy what we sell just about anywhere if you know how to find it. But it's really the people and the experience that make the difference. And that is how we got to our mantra that you also mentioned, that you'll be as comfortable in our stores as you'll be at our close. And
And how about technology, Dana? Are you selling mostly in store? Are you using I know you have a website, so talk a little bit about how technology has changed things up for you guys.
We have a website. It's a very small part of our business. It's a fraction of what we offer in our stores. So, we really recommend that people come to our stores. We sell products all over the country. We ship all over the country. But if you really want to get the true flavor of Milton's, you come to the stores.
Okay. And I know that you're known as a menswear specialty store. Talk to us a little bit when I think it was your dad, when you went into the discounter space. Like, I thought that was fascinating.
Okay. So I'll give you a real quick history. We started as a full markup specialty store, and we were that way up until the early 80s. But at that time, we were growing more promotional. So we were on and off of sale. At that time, there was a public company called Sims that came to the market.
Mm-hmm.
And what we found was that they were selling the same type of product or similar brands and products that we were selling, but they were doing it at an everyday low price. We said, there's something to this. We saw what their performance was like. And we tested that concept under a different name in Warwick, Rhode Island. And based on the results of that test, my father made the very bold decision of converting the other stores to an off-price format. It was done under this notion of Milton's Goes Discount, under this whole advertising theme. And it was quite dramatic at that time. What I love about it is it kind of took a very democratic approach that we had an everyday low price. And that was how we did business. And everything changed at that time. Things sped up. And it's really paved the way for what we are today, which is a value-priced specialty store. Some of the things that we sell are sold at a discount. Some of them are sold at regular price, as long as it's at regular price everywhere. So with some of our brands, in order to be able to offer those to our customers, we sell them at the prices that the manufacturer wants them sold at. But that's the way we do it, and it's really been a great formula that's working very nicely today.
Okay. And how did the journey go then from going discounter? If you understand retail, there's department stores, specialty stores, off-price, discounter. I believe you were in the discounter category. How was the road back to being more of a traditional specialty store? Was that hard? Did you have to rebrand at that point?
I think what we really did was we listened to our customers. When they told us that they wanted to see certain brands that they weren't seeing, we went out and we did what we had to do to get those brands. When they told us that certain aspects of service were more important to them, we implemented those. So we listened very closely to what our customers say. And you talked about pivoting earlier. That's what we do to make sure we are really on target as best as possible with what our customers and what the market is looking for. And we're also looking to, we're always looking for the white space where we can create something that's unique, that's not being served. And that's what we do.
Okay. So that gets into my next question. The three things that I really wanted to talk about in terms of fashion was technology. You answered that. Business casual we can come back to, but pivoting, talk about, I believe you're capitalizing on the wedding market.
Yes, weddings have been tremendous. It's not just weddings, it's really all special occasions, but weddings are driving it. Certainly after the COVID shutdown, when there were no weddings for a period of time, then they all came back online, and we were doing all different types of weddings. We were doing backyard weddings, city hall weddings. Yeah. And then certainly as gatherings became more permissible and occurring more frequently, very large weddings. But the beauty of it is it introduces generally a younger customer, a group of them at a time. Sorry, the lights go out in my office.
That's okay. We can see you. Oh, there you go.
I just have to move a little bit. But what's great about it is it brings these young people in. Wedding parties are generally 10 or 15 guys at a time, introduces them to what we're offering. And the whole beauty of the wedding business is that brides and grooms have learned that it makes more sense to buy than to rent. And whether they're buying suits or buying tuxedos, we have buy one get one free suits starting at $299. So it costs $150 a suit. Or they can buy suit separates, or they can buy, our more premium products like Ted Baker, or they can even make a custom suit from Jack Victor, and you can design the entire garment the way you want it. And we've done some fantastic things for customers. So we cater to all different types of needs that people have, but we really love the wedding business, and it's just been it's been tremendous.
So talk about some of the trends that you're seeing for the guys in the wedding space.
Well, in weddings, the newest thing is color is starting to come about. We're starting to see the advent of greens and burgundies. The notion of black tie weddings are becoming more and more popular also here in New England. It generally was probably about 95% suits and 5% black tie. It's really becoming more like 80-20 now. And we're just seeing people having fun with accessories. They're wearing velvet slippers for footwear. They're having a great time with ties and vests and all sorts of things. And, there is also an element of dressing the ring bearers and the boys. And we get those dressed at all different ages. So the whole thing is really terrific. And it's not just traditional bride and grooms. We have same-sex marriages. We have all sorts of weddings and great occasions that we're celebrating with customers from all different backgrounds. And it's really, really very exciting and stimulating for our entire business.
Great. And I'm going to come and visit you at the Burlington store because I haven't been yet and I can't wait to see it. So that leads me to another question that I wanted to ask you. There's just so much I could ask Dana. So how many stores did you have? What was how many did you have at one time? The most stores you had at one time? Was it 7?
Now you're bringing up the sore subject. We had 7 stores at one time.
Okay.
And I'll never forget one of our consultants said to us, look, no matter how many stores you have, you're still going to be a 2-store operation, because we always had 2 great stores, Braintree and Chestnut Hill. But now we opened the 3rd great store, which is Burlington. So we had 7 at one point. Now we've got 3.
And so you went down you had 2 for a long time, like 10 years. Okay. And then
20 years.
Oh, 20. Wow. So then the opening of Burlington, which is very exciting, just tell folks a little bit, because that's a very different store for you. Do you have like a wedding?
We have what we call the wedding bar. It's an area that was built and devoted to really be able to handle consultations with brides and grooms on a just a little more separate from the rest of the store type of area. Everything's still accessible, but it's an area dedicated to the wedding business. But what we really love about the store is that it has 2 entrances, so that you have both a mall entrance and you have an exterior entrance from the parking lot. So it really speaks to guys liking to just drive up and not necessarily have to walk through a mall to get to their men's store. And we really serve virtually all people's needs by doing that.
And you redid the Chestnut Hill store maybe 15 years, 10 years?
It was done about 8 years ago in
2014. 8 years. Yeah. Okay.
The whole development of Chestnut Hill Square.
Okay. And then let's talk just a little bit about how you've seen style for men evolve. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, the biggest change that happened was really back in 1990 when business casual started to become the new workplace norm. It started with Casual Fridays. You talked about, us trying to figure out what it was. Nobody knew what it was. It had never been really properly defined. But basically, the guys stopped wearing suits, and that just became more and more progressive. and it went from Fridays to every single day of the week. So what that enabled us to do was really develop a sportswear business that became a much more meaningful part of our business. Now we offer brands like Peter Millar and Faherty and Tommy Bahama and Vineyard Vines, and it's really very exciting. But the other development that's happened, and this is throughout virtually all of the product offerings that we have, is the whole notion of comfort today. Right. And, it started in women's when they added stretch to jeans, but now there's stretch in everything. So that, guys used to say, gee, I don't feel comfortable all dressed up. Well, if they're not feeling comfortable, they're probably not wearing something of the right size or the right type of make, because you should be comfortable in everything you're wearing, whether you're wearing a suit, shirt, and tie, right, or you're wearing sweatpants. So the whole evolution of comfort and the way garments are constructed is just revolutionary. And then you also have really the whole green movement and eco-friendly type products. So there's a lot of exciting things going on that we're offering in many of the products that we're selling.
Okay. How many buyers do you have? I know you're an active buyer. How many buyers do you have on your team?
There's 2 of us that buy.
Just 2. Oh my goodness, Dana. Wow. Because you always have fresh stock. You always have fresh stock.
We spend a fair amount of time in the market, but I got to tell you, it's really a very collaborative effort. We listen to what our customers are saying. We listen to what the whole team is saying. Everyone brings back anecdotes. They bring back what customers are asking for. We meet every week, and it just helps us create what we create in terms of our assortment to be able to show our customers the newest, the latest, and greatest that we think they want and that will make their lives better.
And what is your favorite designer that personally, what do you wear the most of the brands that you carry?
I have a few. So when it comes to tailored clothing, we have this one suit maker called Bartarelli Napoli. I think it's the best value garment we offer. Also Jack Victor clothing, and they make Ted Baker. Those are really some of my favorite. When it comes to shirts, I love David Donahue and Proper. When it comes to sportswear, Peter Millar and Liverpool are some of my favorite. And then when it comes to shoes, Geox and Alakai are some of my favorite shoes. So we go out, we look in the market, we try and find things that are unusual, that really have great intrinsic value, and we put them in, and hopefully more often than not, we're right.
Okay, and what are some of the trends for men's fashion 2022?
Well, I think, look, the whole comfort issue is going to continue. The eco-friendly type of fabrics will continue, but for fall, we're really excited to see a lot of velvet starting to show up that guys will wear, not only for those holiday parties that they haven't been to in the last couple of years, but you're going to see, rich hunter greens and burgundies and plums, and you're going to see that throughout sweaters and outerwear and all sorts of, I think the whole injection of color to make people feel better.
Yeah.
We've gone through a rough couple of years, starting with COVID. And I think this is going to be the fall and the holiday season that everybody's, really going to be out there celebrating and I think enjoying themselves. And I think looking good is going to be part of that.
Awesome. So I have one more question for Dana, but before I do that, I just wanted to remind you that there's 2 $100 gift certificates to Miltons, and they're good at any of their stores. Put hashtag Miltons in the chat. Sarah is monitoring the chat for us. And also, if you have a fun story about Miltons, put it out there too. I know Dana would enjoy reading that. So my last question before we wrap up is, what does presence mean to you?
Well, it's a very good question. I think presence means that you should be comfortable in yourself and in the clothing that you're wearing. But I think it also means that you should be aware of how you're making others feel. And I think balancing those 2 things are really, really important. And it kind of goes back to, the way my grandfather started his business and then instilled it in my father, which is operating by the golden rule, that you really want to treat others the way you would like to be treated yourself. And we try to instill that, and we strive to do that every single day.
Awesome. Great answer, Dana. Well, I think we have our next, I think we have our next program planned. I'd love to come out to Burlington, maybe in early November to see what I'm really dying to see those velvet slippers, and I want to see the burgundy and the green. So if you'll have us, we'll come and we'll do some show and tell, Dana, which is what I had planned to do. But then when I was thinking, I'm like, no, I want to get Dana in. I haven't seen him in a long time and I want to just catch up. And I wanted to share your story with our audience. We have people on this call from all over. We have a great following, but there's lots of people that are in the Boston area. And I love to celebrate successful family-owned businesses. And you've been around a long time. So congratulations, Dana. Really.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, great. We'll talk soon, Dana. Thank you. Okay, everyone. You know what to do. Get that hashtag Miltons in there for your chance to win one of those $100 gift certificates. We got 2, hashtag Miltons. If you are interested in enrolling in the next and last session of 90 Days to Stellar Style, which is kicking off on October 10th, put hashtag, why not, hashtag Stellar Style, and Sarah and I will get back to you. But I hope that you picked up 1, 2, 3. I know I picked up a lot of stuff tonight on business and style and fashion and longevity and treating people well. Now you hopefully will know a little bit more about Miltons and what has made it so successful for 75 years. And you know, when you show up, we show up, and we have a great time, and we're always happy to share our tips, our strategies, and our special friends like Dana. So we will see you next week. We're going to do Fall Fashion Part 2. We kicked that off last week, but we're going to tackle that top 10 list. It will actually be officially fall next week. So we'll share that list again with some new show and tell that will allow you to carry the trends into the season as it gets cooler. So that's next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. Hope to see you then. And have a great rest of the night, and we'll see you next week. Okay, see you later. Bye-bye. Thank you, Maria, and thank you, Sarah. See you later. Bye-bye.